Hello and welcome to my weekly video blog, and today I'm going to talk about lack of self-control in the perimenopause and menopause. If you like my tips and advice, then please subscribe and remember to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of all my new videos. So do you find at some point that you're losing your temper a lot, you can't control your emotions, you're blurting things out before even thinking of them and then going, oh, wish I hadn't said that? Or do you find that you're really struggling to control your impulses to eat sweet things, drink alcohol, go shopping, anything just to make you feel better? So today I'm going to talk about why this can occur and what you can do to help yourself. So what is lack of control? It's really the inability to restrain either your emotions or your desires. So it's impulses where you struggle to not do things. You want to do something and then you're not thinking about, how is this going to work out? Is this going to be bad for me once I've actually done this? Or sometimes you're not even aware that you're getting that little bit out of control until maybe somebody actually points it out to you. So there's two main types of sort of lack of control, if you like. There is impulse control and there is emotional control. So lack of impulse control, this would be where you would do things without thinking. You're watching the telly and you're reaching for another sweet or chocolate biscuit without actually thinking about what it's doing to you and what it's doing for you. Do you find that you're reaching for another glass of wine at night because you're just so tired and you can't be bothered to do anything? You might find it's to do with impulse buying. You're going out and every time you shop, you want to spend that little bit more because it makes you feel good at the time. And all of these things do, but afterwards, very often you will be berating yourself because you just feel you don't have any control, or you just think, this isn't good for me, it's not good for my health. The problem with this situation is that other symptoms in the menopause can exacerbate this particular one. So if you're not sleeping well, and we know there's so much research out there showing that if you don't sleep well, that can affect your hunger, your appetite control the next day. So you're likely to eat more, but go for the carbs and the sweet things just because you haven't had a good night's sleep. It could be that you've got the brain fog. It could be the fatigue, because all of these situations will affect your rational decision making. So, and if you're so tired, you just think, I want another cup of coffee to perk myself up, not realizing at the time that that cup of coffee is going to keep you awake all night. There's emotional control. So this is where you lose the ability to control your emotions, be it anger. You might find you're overreacting, you're getting angry with everybody, you're losing your temper, you're getting frustrated, you're going into bad moods and you're staying there instead of jumping out of them. And you might just get really overwhelmed by the intensity of these emotions. And that's something so many of you have commented on, that you don't understand who you are. Suddenly you're a different person because you're angry or snappy, or you just feel that you're not your usual self. So the reason why these things happen, as well as things like the poor sleep, is all to do with estrogen mainly. So as your estrogen starts to fall, there seems to be some way in which estrogen sort of keeps our thought control going. It helps us to control our emotions, so that when our estrogen starts to fall, that ability for us to hold on to our self-control decreases. And this is when we end up with the anger and everything else that's going on. And it makes it much harder, because we're in this situation, it makes it much harder for us to think rationally about what we're doing and how we are behaving. So what to do in this particular situation? Obviously, try and sort the things that may be contributing to the problem. So that's things like getting your water, because dehydration will make everything worse, especially the emotional side of things. It's about eating well, because remember, I've talked about eating too many carbs and overeating on carbohydrates. So it's about making sure that your nutritional needs are being met at this particular time. It's also about exercise. If you're getting out, if you're exercising, that's creating the really good, feel-good chemicals in the brain, and it's lifting you up that little bit more too. Also do de-stressing, anything you can do to support your emotions and to de-stress. So that's a little bit of me time. Remember how important that is. You can look at herbal support, such as the herbs of Avena sativa or passion flower. We also have our flower essences, maybe the craving essence, if you find that you're reaching for things and eating or drinking without actually thinking about what you're doing. Try and avoid situations. I know it's not easy, because especially if you're losing your temper or getting really irritable at work, you can't really avoid things like that. But sometimes avoiding situations and people that are pulling the worst out of you can be really helpful. Or you can, in your mind, you can sort of see what's going on. You can vision what you may do if you're in that situation, so that you're already playing out, behaving in a better way towards other people. The other thing too is to talk to people about how you're feeling. If you've suddenly started to get really snappy with your loved ones, they're not knowing what's going on, and they may be as worried about you as you are worried about yourself behaving in this way. So actually talking to them and explaining that it's not you, it's just your hormones at the moment, may make things easier, and then you're not going to be in that reactive situation where you're more likely to lose control with your emotions. Don't multitask. I just wish we could ban multitasking in the perimenopause and menopause, because we're just putting too much pressure on ourselves, and something has to give at the end of the day. You can look at meditation. If you're really finding it difficult to get things under control, you can look at CBT, emotional freedom technique, or NLP as well. So these, you can learn how to do these in order just to help yourself to feel more in control. The really important thing here is that this phase, the lack of self-control, either emotional or physical, is very often just one of the phases in the menopause, and they do go. But what do? We beat ourselves up. We feel guilty because we're not behaving the way that we think we should. And we put extra pressure. We end up beating ourselves up because we've behaved in a certain way and we think that we shouldn't do. So don't do that to yourself. Be kind to yourself and just realize this is something that you're going through, but it will ease at the end of the day. And sometimes it's also about embracing how you feel. I had a friend going through the menopause, and she went through the anger phase, and she said she loved it. It was the first time in her life that she was allowed to feel angry and be angry. And she said she found it so liberating. And she was actually quite disappointed when she came out of that phase. So some of these things, especially the emotional side of things that happen, is basically just the real us coming out for a little while. So don't beat yourself up, and just realize that this is something that's likely to come and go. So I hope you found this helpful, and any thoughts on this, if you've had any experience of this, then please share them with us. I love reading all your stories, and until next week, take care.